Hello and welcome to Education in Focus, powered by Chalkboard News. I am Dan McCaleb, Vice President of News and Content at the Franklin News Foundation, publisher of ChalkboardNews.com. Chalkboard is a news website dedicated to issues related to K-12 education. Joining me to talk K-12 education is Brendan Clary, who happens to be Chalkboard's K-12 editor. How are you, Brendan?
I'm doing well, Dan. How about you?
I am doing well, thank you. Brendan, we are recording this on July 31st. That means the calendar is about to change yet again. August generally means that summer vacation is winding down. Of course, school districts across the country all have their own calendars. Some don't start until after Labor Day. Many start well before Labor Day. So that means parents at least have to start thinking about back-to-school shopping. Brendan, you wrote at Chalkboard News this past week about the expense that parents should expect from back-to-school shopping. What did you find out?
Well, so it was actually Julian, who freelance writes for us. He wrote the piece on that.
I'm sorry, Brendan. I just assumed you wrote everything that we publish at Chalkboard. Of course, that is not the case. Brendan has some help.
Yeah, his name is Julian Roberts Gramela. He's been helping us write some pieces, and he wrote a great piece just looking at, basically some, I believe it was a survey from the retail industry, or a report based on some information that they conducted through a survey of 7,000 consumers in June, basically saying, hey, how much do you intend to spend this year? How much do you think it's going to cost you? And they're expecting to spend the highest amount ever so far. So an $890, about $25 more than
wow.
Last. So they're saying, yeah, $890. So, and I was kind of blown away when I saw that number as well. And so there.
Let me interrupt you a second,
yeah.
Brendan.
Yeah,
you're a father of two young children who are going to be going to school. Have you started putting money aside, not for college, but for back to school shopping yet?
No. I was shocked. I was shocked at the expense. I'm like, how much can, paper, pencils, a new backpack. When I went to high school, I think
iPad.
Well, see, and I think that's the thing that they found in this is that, that is primarily driven by, the demand for electronics. So, you get an iPad, that's $400. You get a new phone, that's another $600. So you're talking an average of $890. Half probably have much higher sites, half, much lower. So, that was kind of shocking to me until you started to factor that in. Because when I was in school, you were allowed to have your graphing calculator, $120 maybe, and then I, got a new backpack and some pencils and, my binders to put stuff in, and then I was good to go. So that was that did add a lot of context. So I think that, with that focus on, maybe the need for laptops in schools, if you have a lot of digital instruction now, kind of after the pandemic, that starts to make some sense. I thought that was interesting given that school supplies, in the Consumer Price Index that the Department of the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics puts out, they found that school supplies are actually down year over year. So, it's not like an inflationary thing. So I do think that, there might be some of those, we need more technology for school sort of thing. And that's what's driving the price up based on that retail association's, findings. So that's just like an interesting metric.
Another thing you wrote about related to back to school and back to school shopping, Brendan, is that many states, some states at least, quite a number of states, at least give parents a bit of a break when it comes to back to school shopping because they put what they call sales tax holidays. They don't require parents during a certain period of time, a certain window of time, to pay sales tax on back to school items.
Yeah.
You reported on that this week.
That was Julian as well, actually. Sorry. Yeah, he wrote both of those. He was doing the back to school beat this week. But he had
for correcting me.
Yeah, no problem. He had a great interview with with Marco Guzman, who's with the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy, and he was basically like he asked him, what are the sales tax holidays? Which states have them? And so there are 16 states out of the 20 states that have sales tax holidays. 16 of them have them specifically for back to school shopping, which is interesting. Like the majority of these states are specifically for like, let's give families a break when they're buying back to school supplies. Florida, for example, has one that started on July 24th and it runs through August 6th. So as we're talking about, like, this is the time now for back to school supplies in their eyes. But Guzman and his organization say this is not actually the best way to target financial relief for those who might need it. So he says that this gives the impression that a state or these politicians are providing tax relief, but there's actually a lot more problems that come up with it. He said, where you lose revenue that the state would otherwise make, and that could be used for funding schools. And he also said it disproportionately favors people who have the money already, so they can wait until now. So maybe, so they can kind of fit that window, right? So if you live in paycheck to paycheck, you probably won't be able to say, oh, this is the tax holiday weekend. I'm going to go and, maybe head out early from my job. So it's tougher for people who are living paycheck to paycheck to be like, okay, I'm going to drop that money.
Bills they have to pay first.
Right. So it's tough. And, and it's also one of those things, as we talked about before, of are these, pencils, paper, these things are given freedom. These are not taxed the same way, but maybe electronics still are. And, that's what parents need. So if there's a different kind of way of thinking about it, such as like a rebate program or something like that, a sales tax credit instead of a holiday, those kinds of things might be more helpful in terms of offsetting the cost for people who really
a targeted one to lower income families.
Sure, yeah. So you're saying, if you're under this income bracket, you can apply for these and show receipts, and maybe there's like a program to do that. Right. And some states do have like an education's savings account, which you can apply for if you're under a certain income bracket, and then you get some funding from the state even to help you do that. And we covered that at Chalkboard as well, that there is different opportunities that families can apply for, and some of them aren't even for tuition; they're just for school supplies. And maybe that iPad would count. I'm not sure. You'd have to check. But there are different options out there. So it's just an interesting kind of thing to see who's doing these sales tax holidays for school supplies. But those are currently going on now. So if listeners wanted to take advantage of that, they could check their state and see what that
the holiday is.
Yeah.
Well, Brennan, thank you for your insight on this, but we are out of time. In honor of back-to-school season, I promise I will do my homework a little bit more thoroughly before I just start discussing who's writing what and what you're writing and attributing other reporters' work to you. My apologies for those two mistakes. Readers can keep up with all things back-to-school at chalkboardnews.com. For Brennan Clary, I'm Dan McCaleb. Please subscribe, and thank you for listening.